Well, the time is nigh, and we are beginning this meeting. I'm going to move this. It's in my way. I want to see all your lovely faces.
Were we originally 6 o'clock or 6:30?
6:30.
Oh, okay.
Yep, 6:30. Yeah, I just wanted to keep it the same as our other meetings and whatnot. There he is. Well, welcome to the meeting, folks. We are streaming this for the first time. This is our second meeting, by the way. Two meetings. So you're going to be on camera. If you don't like that, then leave. I'm just kidding. Don't leave. Please don't leave. There's only 4 of you. Well, I'm Rob. Robert Frost III is my name for reals. And welcome to the second meeting of Game.wav. And let's get right into it, shall we? So welcome. If you haven't been here before and you'd like to know our safe spaces policies and whatnot, you can go to igdatc.org/policies, and we got all the words there that you can check through, and if you have any issues with me, just tell me. That'd be great, and we'll work it out. So survey. So we did this the last time we were here. If you're new, yeah, there he is. If you're new, go ahead and scan this QR code and do this this survey at any point after the meeting or during it. If you don't want to listen to me, that's totally fine. Because this is really helpful for me because then I get to know what you want to hear about, what you want me to look into, who you want me to find to actually partake in these meetings. And yeah, so definitely fill it out. Greatly helpful. Help me for this one. So the order of operations for this meeting is we got an intro, we've got the announcements. Also, the intro is what I'm saying right now. So, and then we got some announcements, community plugs, and then we've got playback feedback. If anybody's got anything they want to actually show, like sound-wise, we'd love to hear it, and then we can give some feedback and just get some more ears on the sounds. And then my presentation, and then we'll go to the bar if you want to. No pressure. IGDA-TC, the parent organization that kind of supports me in doing this, is all volunteer based, and here's the lovely board members. One is sitting in the room right behind Trent. And so if you do want to get involved more, you can talk to one of these members or talk to me, and we can kind of see what you'd like to do. And I think there's an election next year, Trent?
Yeah, it's every January, February.
Cool. Yeah. I will tell you that it's hard to get. I've tried twice now. So, and then so just in general, IGDA-TC is all volunteer based. So I'm a volunteer. As you can see, my great picture there with my setup. Wonderful people. And also Rob could use some help with just presentations. If you know anybody that does music for sound or games or does sound design or anything like that, or you want to just start making something, like talk to me and we can make something work. We've got many events now. We got Jam Night. That's the first Wednesday of every month at Noble Robot. That's downtown, what is that? Northeast? Yeah, Northeast, St. Anthony, Maine area. Really awesome. Trent puts it on, and the only problem that is with it is that it's too popular. So, but it's really fun. It's just a hang, Then the main game dev meeting, which is the second Wednesday, not at Noble Robot. I'm sorry, I did not change that. It's at 2D HQ, which is also in St. Anthony, Maine.
It's pretty close to there, yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to come and not sure where it is, like join our Discord. We'll get you the right place. And then we've got Twin Cities Playtest on the third. Are you seeing a trend? On the third Wednesday of the month, and that's at Noble Robot as well. And this is like straight up what it sounds like. It is playing games, local games. They want feedback. Tell them how you feel. No prerequisites required. And then we've got Women in Games Gathering. That's the third Saturday at Noble Robot every month. And then you made it to the best one right there, Game.wav. That's today. That's right now. We're having it right now. Welcome. There he is. That's Scott. Yeah.
Where was the Game Dev meeting at?
The main Game Dev meeting is at 2DHQ. It is, I think you can literally type it into Google and it'll find it. But it's in like a, like a, something like that.
Yeah, if you think you're at the wrong building, you're at the right
You're at the right building.
Pretty much.
Like one of those places where you can. Pretty sure they make like vinyl there.
Yeah, I thought I saw something like on the, like wait when you walk in on the, yeah.
That's their like main area.
Yeah. Well, I already talked about Jam Night, but it's great. Again,
Yeah, you can delete that with slides if you want.
no, I can't. No, I can't. Twin Cities Playtest. Thanks to our sponsors, we've got Noble Robot, Rem5 Studios. Rem5 is the one that does the, I actually didn't even say it. It's the fourth Wednesday of the month. I skipped it. That's the VR meetup. It's great. Fantastic. Rem5 is super cool. It's in South End or West End. And yeah, it's really great. And then we got our new partner, Hennepin Tech, and we also have 2DHQ. I did not change those plugs. So community plugs. Anybody got anything that they want to tell about? Yeah, CJ.
I'm the sound technician for a community theater production in Maple Grove. It's
Sick.
Once Upon a Mattress, which is a very funny classic Broadway musical. You can find information about it at crosscommunityplayers.org if you're interested in getting tickets.
Cross community players. Cool.
It's shaping up to be a really fun production.
What's it called again?
Once Upon a Mattress.
Once Upon a Mattress. Okay. That's
So
awesome.
if anyone's interested in seeing what we've been working on, supporting the arts,
Theater.
come down.
Great. Anybody else? Okay. That's okay. We don't need to, you don't need to be doing anything, I guess. So it's yeah. Presenters wanted. I talked about this already, but I'm going to say it again. I might say it a third time too, just because 3 is my favorite number. So, I need presenters. I need people to talk. I need demos of music you're working on, revelations you've come to find when you're studying game audio, when you're anything that is game audio related. I'm looking for you. I have my eye on you. Not really. So we got playback feedback. So this is like just a little guideline on how we do feedback in general. I think it's a really important tool, and it is a tool for us in our work to So how do we give feedback? Well, feedback is a collaborative experience. So we want to make sure that we're hearing the other person, and they're hearing us. So it's a two-way street. So and then if you've got negative feedback, always start with positive and then go with the negative, just because, yeah, we want to build people up. So and then give context. So if you're showing me a song, don't tell me, oh, the snare's wrong, or I don't know if the bass is good. I mean, that's stuff that you can ask for feedback, but give me more context. What's it for? Is it for a game? Is it for, what is it actually used for? And if you have visuals, I can look up. I got a computer right here. It's really powerful. So really powerful stuff. So if anybody has anything, I've got something, but if anybody else has anything. Oh, shit. Get up here, Mateo.
Or
I think you could airdrop it to me. Yeah. Let's try that. So I'm going to exit this for a second. Technology.
Should I share you a wave to keep with the?
Yeah, yeah, it's got to be Wave.
It's gotta be a wave, right?
Yeah, Wave. Contacts only. No. Everyone.
Game.mp3.
Yeah, game. It's not. This isn't game.mp3. This is game.wave. Yeah. So you should see my my little icon.
I see.
You see these?
Yeah, I see MacBook Pro 3. Is that you?
That's probably me.
Okay, let's see.
I'd say that's likely me.
Is that a Mac or
Oh shit. So give us some context. Let's hear it. What's it for? What's
Okay, so
do you need some do you need me to go somewhere?
where did it go? It's probably in the download.
It's in my yeah, I got it. I got two laptops going on here. Well, not really, but
So, this was a piece that I wrote last week. It's for a game that I'm working on called Melvor Idle.
Melvor Idle.
Yeah, so it's an idle game. This is actually, it's for the sequel, so Melvor Idle 2.
Ooh.
And yeah, I gotta write a soundtrack for it, and it's like playlist style, so the tracks don't loop, which is kind of refreshing to be able to write some endings for stuff.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So when you say playlist stuff, like is it plays in the background and then like there's more songs that happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think they're gonna do it where you actually can like skip or pick tracks you want to listen
Oh,
to.
okay, cool. Yeah.
So yeah, it's an idle game. So you sort of like what I'm doing is just writing these tracks to fit the vibe of the game, like overall. But whoa, crazy! I didn't know you were gonna RX my track.
I'm gonna RX it.
What does that mean?
What like genre of idle game? Like what's the setting?
So it's like fantasy RPG
Okay.
idle game. So it's orchestral vibe, fantasy orchestral stuff. I'm going for total like JRPG kind of sound.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
So that's your audience would be like JRPG fans.
Fans who want to do an idle game.
Yeah, yeah.
JRPG fans.
Well,
who
let's
are leveling up.
yeah, let's just say as a song for like because you know like audience matters. Like when we're writing music, we want to write for an audience, especially if it's a game. Well, anything really. So this is for Runes. What's it called again?
Melvor Idle.
Melvor Idle.
Like the idle version of RuneScape.
Okay. I think you were telling us about this at the bar last time. Well, let's listen to it. Let me make sure we can actually hear it. Hold on. There's no audio device. Hold on. I can fix this. Come back.
And Wave is lossless, is that right?
Wave is lossless. It's non-compressed. A wave track is not compressed, which is cool. Let's do external headphone. Buffer size 1,000,000. Okay.
What does it mean to RX a track?
Well, this particular software is called RX, and it's a part of the Isotope collection. Like Isotope is a plug-in company, and they have like lots of like mastering tools, and this particular tool is really useful for like right now you're looking at the frequency spectrum. This is like what would you call it? Yeah, frequency spectrum analyzer. And so basically, like if I wanted to take all the bass out of the song, I could by just like getting rid of all these little like lower frequencies. Yeah, I could, you know, like I could like change all sorts of stuff with these different debleed, all these.
I've seen the miniature version in there.
No, I won't be doing that. No, I just use I love RX. I use it all the time. So, and it also is like gives us some visual cues on like what might be coming up next and whatnot. So, pretty cool. Yeah.
Adobe Audition, I've seen that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, let's listen. Very nice. Hell yeah. Well, you're going to be presenting next time, telling us how to do these MIDI scores. Because, damn, dude, that violin sounds fucking great. What is that?
That's Spitfire.
Okay.
The symphonic, like the update they did last year. Or maybe it was this year, I don't know. I'm actually thinking about maybe getting a live violin player for that, but
I
tried
don't
pretty
really
hard
think
to get
it's-
it to sound as real as possible.
Yeah. So which one is it?
Yeah, if I was gonna recommend any like orchestral libraries, like if anyone wanted to get started on orchestral stuff, just Spitfire Symphony Orchestra, their like full bundle is so good. That's my main orchestral.
Not Abbey Road.
No, not Abbey Road. It should be under orchestras somewhere. Like you can probably search by orchestras. Yeah. Yeah, scroll down. It's in here somewhere.
Symphony
Not
Extras.
Symphonic Extras. There it is. Spitfire Symphony Orchestra.
Ah.
Right there. And I bought it when it was like $1,000.
Damn, it came down. Well, I mean, they always. Yeah. I have Albion.
Albion's good.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
I've got Albion, and then I've got this one's pretty affordable now.
Yeah.
And then I've got the BBC. Is that Spitfire?
Yep, that's Spitfire.
That's the one I invested more in. Where is it?
BBC Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Oh my God, I cannot find these.
So is that how a lot of the soundtracks can be sort of
So
felt kind of cinematic almost like it?
yeah, so like because it's an idle game and there's like it's a playlist, it's like given me a lot of leeway to be pretty creative with it because I'm sort of just like, hey, I'm gonna imagine how this is gonna be and how it's gonna look. So like that particular track, I'm basing each track off of a skill like mechanic in the game. So that's like you can do all this crafting in the game where you can do like wood cutting or fletching arrows or crafting runes and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the track that I based off of rune crafting. So I tried to make it sound like really magical.
Yeah, definitely magical.
Yeah, I went for like a quirky kind of magic thing, and then the middle section I went for a total like Harry Potter, John Williams.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Vibe. So
Things sound Disney-esque too.
yeah,
I mean,
thanks. Yeah,
really great.
definitely
Yeah.
inspired by that kind of stuff.
It's sort of feeling like Tim Burton family movie or something.
Yeah,
Like,
there's definitely some like
yeah,
Tim
like
Burton
kinda
stuff.
like-
there.
It's also got like a Kevin McCloud mischievous
Yeah.
kind of feel.
Yeah,
especially
sure,
with the plucking
sure.
string.
Reminded me a lot of the early parts of Twilight Princess.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
My
Zelda.
favorite Zelda game.
I was thinking Zelda too,
Yeah.
especially the beginning of it sounded very Zelda. What minor chord are you going to? Like you use it twice, I think. You use like a minor chord. It sounds like there's like a total shift in the like tone, and you do it twice.
Which part? 'Cause there's a lot of chords.
That's true. I think it's right around here. Yeah. I think it was right here.
It's like major
That's-
7 chords with the second inversion.
Okay.
Fifth and bass.
Okay.
It makes it sound very minor.
Yeah, definitely sound. It's a total shift. So what's that going from?
Gosh. Man.
You're like going down a half step in the melody.
Yeah, so the first, like the main section of the song, right? The do 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 do. It's just two like sharp 11 chords,
Mm-hmm.
a whole step apart, over and over. And then when I switch to that, I believe I just go down another whole step from the first chord, and then one more whole step, and then it's just a lot of parallel movement.
Sure.
Is what I'm doing.
Sure.
And then keeping that same melody, but moving it down a whole step.
Yeah.
Right, so it's just giving this like going down sort of.
Right.
Right.
I noticed that if anybody has anything else to say, that's cool. I'm just geeking out over this. This is a great song. Well, let's get some data here. I want to see.
Get our jaws off.
I want to see what we got in terms.
What are the white streaks in the output?
That's well, Mateo can probably say it.
I don't use RX that much, so.
Oh, well, that's tempo markers. So this is where he's having like a retardando, you know, like slowing down and then speeding up.
It's in the metadata.
Yeah, this is in metadata. So this is basic, like, are you using Logic or something? Yeah, so, you know, like he's using automation to automate the, you know, the tempo downward and then he's getting to this tempo and then going back up and, you know, that's kind of what he's doing. It looks like you, this is sitting really good in LUFS land.
It is mastered, so.
Yeah.
I'm not a musicologist. What does that even mean?
Musicologist.
It's a degree in music.
Oh, I mean, I have a degree in music composition. Yeah.
Well, awesome, dude. I have nothing negative at all to say because it's incredibly good. I guess the only thing I would be concerned at all about, but the context you gave me sounded exactly like what, you know, you would need in a game that like you're kind of crafting, you're kind of, you know, like idling. You know, it's creating some movement in the background
Right.
while you're kind of doing not so much on the screen, honestly. Yeah.
So that's why there's so much leeway.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of room to be creative in this.
Yeah.
Like, normally with other projects, you're doing whatever, like a 1 to 2 minute loop.
Yeah.
You've got to stay pretty consistent.
Right.
And you can't make, like, drastic changes.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, because it's a playlist style and you're doing just sort of, well, you could be doing a bunch of this, like, crafting stuff. There's a lot of room for changes in tempo and changes
Yeah.
in feel, because you're just trying to get this vibe in the background, right?
Yep.
It's almost like listening to the soundtrack of your favorite game in the background while you're playing this game, and you just have it on a playlist, right? So
Yep.
It's like study music.
It's like Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
You know, you got Tony Hawk music going on. Only totally different.
Yeah.
Dude, awesome. Well, let's give him a round of applause because great track. Great track. Anybody else? Anybody else have anything? I can share a track that I've been working on. I don't know if I have it on my computer. I might have to go to Dropbox. Stand by. So I've been working on a game called Dice Tower for a while, for a bit now. It's a local game. No, not Drop. And I've been working with the developer, Josh Anthony, who did a presentation yesterday, actually, and it was awesome. I loved that. That presentation was great, very inspiring. Oh yeah, well, if you want to see how many versions we've done, a lot. So I think it's this one, and then there's even more versions in here. Actually, no, I think this is actually quite unorganized. So basically, this is the main theme. So it, you know, like very much like it's, you know, to impress, basically. Like it's to like get you amped up. It's to like give you that beginning feeling. And so it kind of has this like ebb and flow type relationship that's going on. And it's not super long because it's just on the main menu for, you know, however long you're on the main menu. But I tried to kind of convey this idea, like you're going up a tower. Like the gods have eliminated basically joy in the world, and now entertainment is like the only thing that, you know, it's like the biggest thing to do in the world. So like going up this tower is a big deal. And so I wanted to give this sense of movement upward. And so that's one thing I did. And then another thing is, you know, like, no, that's probably about it.
Is it going to loop on the main menu?
It'll loop, yeah. So yeah, I'll stop it at the loop, or we can listen to it twice. So it's got a little bit of an intro. It's got the main theme, and you know, so it's kind of meant to be catchy. It's kind of meant to be memorable, and then also, yeah, I don't know where the fuck I put this. Oh, it's probably this one, V6. Yeah. All right. So, yeah. I will say that I'm definitely self-conscious of the guitar work on this. It's definitely a very not my first genre choice. It's like metal kind of ish. So I worked pretty hard on trying to like get that guitar tone. Like I've re-recorded it 3 or 4 times, and I'm probably going to re-record it again. But I told Josh, I was like, I need a break on this song. I've done a million versions, and we're losing. You're paying me to basically, you know, just go in circles right now. So I think we need to move on, and we come back later. So yeah, anyway, enough giving context. Thank you.
Wow, that was super cool.
I would listen to that soundtrack.
Me too. I especially love the B section. The chord changes you have in there, really nice.
I modulate up a half step.
Yeah, it's
So that was like that idea of movement upward without it actually sounding like I actually modulated.
Like it's so subtle the way you
Yes.
did it. It's not like abrupt or anything. So yeah, it works really well.
And then just like the change between, and like still using guitar, but like, cause it's a fantasy game. So I wanted to have like 10% of magical feel to it, you know, and then I wanted it to go into this more rock arena feel because the game is like, it's like it's almost, like I said, it's like the gods are looking upon, like down upon you, and you're in like a crowd is watching you, you know? So it's like, want to feel like a adventure, or, you know, like it's a fucking football, man, you know? Like I wanted it to have that like NFL sound, you know? So that's kind of what I was adding to it.
It gives me like a coliseum kind of.
Yeah, and that's what I was hoping for. And I think that's what Josh was kind of talking to me about. He's like, I wanted to feel. So this song kind of came from a lot of feedback, a lot of back and forth, and like having a solid idea in terms of like the developer giving me sort of his vision and then me kind of following the vision and just kind of reiterating. Because like the first version of this,
Can we hear the very first thing you shared with them?
yeah, well, the very first thing I shared is totally different, and I really like it. So it's the only.
That's usually how it goes.
Let's hear that.
So the first draft, yeah. Oh yeah. There he is. You're listening. You're listening to Sancho. This is the first thing I sent Josh. And he was like, I hate it. That's what I told Josh. So yeah, that was the first version. And then, yeah, I think we all loved it, but we were all like, it's just not quite.
Like a main theme, but it does feel like a really
Yeah.
good track for the potential.
Something that could fit.
A mini boss or something could have this.
I think it might be too slow tempo to do that, but I could speed it up, and I could also add more like orchestral elements, so it kind of fits the vibe. So and then from there, this is the first version. Nope, that's the first version I just sent you. This was like the first draft of the song. Totally different sound, but still very much like composition. Yeah, and that still stays. Like the tone is totally different. I also changed the way that this is all that. I don't know how we got to where we got, but we got there, didn't we, Josh? So yeah, and then 1,000 versions later, we got to where we got, and it was awesome.
What was a lot of like between the versions? Like what were the big things? Like just kind of.
Yeah. Well, let's listen to.
Yelling about guitar tone.
Yeah, there was.
The guitar tone changed completely.
Yeah. Well, I did a lot of research, and I actually bought. So that first guitar tone was direct in. That was direct into my. Actually, no. It was through an orange, the orange mighty or micro terror. It's like this little tiny box, and it, like I bought it because it was like really cheap, and I wanted it to have like another kind of distortion. But then I started asking around to some friends, and I was like, my client wants like 80s style, like metal. And I actually think what I came up with is very Black Sabbath, because I listened to Black Sabbath afterwards and I was like, yeah, this is like exactly the same, which I felt really good about. You know, it's like much more orchestrated, but and like Sabbath is so much more like, you know, moody, and you know, they've you know Sabbath. You've heard of that band, right?
I like the new guitar on the recent track.
Yeah, it turned out good. I liked it too.
So what did you do for that?
Oh, yeah. Get back to what I was talking about. So I asked a couple of guitar players that I knew, and they were like, dude, you got to get a Proco Rat. You gotta. That's it. That's the sound. And so I was like, okay, well, so I went to Guitar Center and I picked up one for like $60. I was like, started playing with that, and it changed everything. Yeah, yep. It's this one. Proco Rat.
R-A-T.
Yeah. Boom.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. That's the one. That's the 80s. That's the 80s guitar tone metal sound. That mixed with my Vox AC50. So I started using my guitar amp then, and you know, there's just really not anything better than recording right from an amp. The problem is in my studio, my amp is here. You know, so it's like when I'm trying to record it, it's like hard to hear what I'm recording versus what I'm hearing in the room. So it's a little challenging, but yeah, I'm really happy with it. And you got me out of my comfort zone, and you also got me to play more guitar, which I used to play a lot because I was in bands and stuff. And
So when you record guitar,
yeah.
do you like most of the time record with an amp, or are you ever using like virtual amplifiers?
Yes, and I have done that, and I used to do that consistently because I was like, I don't need an amp, but I have consistently found that I don't. I've consistently found that I don't like, you know, virtual amps. They just don't sound. I think like there's something about the hiss. There's something about the way that the mid-range cuts through a cone rather than like software that just like it just hits you different. And you know, I definitely could take it further. Like I know I could take it further. But you know, I think it's pretty good at where it is. And another thing that made this track really come together was using mastering it through my my Wes Audio NG bus compressor. This thing is amazing. So it really so this thing helped get the sound. It glued it together, like especially the heavy part. The kick drum is just all triplets, so it's like constant fire, and then the bass is literally following that. And then another thing that really worked well in this is that I just use octaves, so many octaves, and like constantly. There's very little. There's like counter stuff happening, but it's mostly melody and mostly like octaves that are like following the thing. But yeah, this bus compressor is badass, and it's expensive.
It better be.
Oh my God.
Price tag.
Jeez.
You better do my dishes.
Yeah. So that, yeah. What was that?
What mics did you use?
Just a 58, a 757 on my amp. And yeah, just a 57. I also have, I think what else did I use? So with the Rat, I also have this really fucking cool, weird ass Japanese distortion pedal. Well, it's a Boss distortion, but it's called what is it? It's like a sustainer. It's weird. Basically, you hold down on it and it'll do overtones. Yeah. And it's from the 80s. I got it because I was like, D1W, is this it? Nope, these are physical. This is like, that's not it. But yeah, it's like this. It's an older like 80s Japanese like overdrive with this overtone thing. So if you like, hit a D and then hold down on it, it'll do an overtone of D, and like you can kind of control how much overtone and how little, and then you can like the distortion on it is thrashy. So what I had to do with that is I took, from my tuner, I go into that, and then out of that I have an EQ so that I can tune it because it's epic. And then I have the rat to like kind of filter it down a little bit, and that's kind of how the sound. Not to mention the guitar amp itself. That also definitely shaped the sound. So yeah.
As someone who's not super well versed in music theory or guitar, what are overtones?
Overtones, it's like the overtone series. So like, actually, in the RX program, it shows them. So, like, of course, I gotta put a file in here. I guess I'll use.
Yeah, it's like if
Okay, so.
put yours in there. Or mine.
Well, mine's online, so. So the overtone series is. How can I explain it?
Well, it's like every note you play has other notes in it.
Yeah,
Like the harmonic?
yeah, harmonics,
Exactly. Yeah.
and they all work kind of together.
So
The Fletcher Munson curve. Look at that, and that's like the harmonic series. That like he used that to kind of develop that. Like here.
Fletcher who? Fletcher Munson? Okay,
So on this right here, the frequency response.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all overtones, like 50, 100, 200, like all
Got it,
these
yeah.
are different overtones. So like when I play the pedal, like say it's a D or something, or 200 hertz, it'll like, I can like amplify the different ones with the thing and the thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Understood.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for listening, and
You want a couple more minutes on that?
if, yeah,
Yeah. So can you pull it up again?
I sure can. Let's go history. Where was it? Dice Tower. Main theme 2. And it's not in that folder. It's kind of weird to do this. Yeah, right here.
So like my favorite part of the song is definitely like the big dip there. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
what they call it, but like
The big dip.
Big dipper.
it's very well earned.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Well, it's also foreshadowing because it's like, oh, something epic is about to happen. Like, I'm not like a shredder, not a shredding guitar player, but I wanted something to like tease what it was about to happen. And I think that sort of idea, it's like a very like metal kind of thing. So I thought it worked really well for that. I actually was gonna do strings doing that, but then I was like, no, man, you're going right into guitar. So like, let's fucking amp it up. So yeah, I'm really, really proud of this song. So I really, yeah, thanks, man.
I feel like the only if I had to pick one thing is like I feel like a couple of the I don't know if it's the opening feels like it doesn't quite hit right. Like I think it's towards the beginning there. Like you play for
Oh yeah, that there's a part that is, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So this intro is a little sloppy, but I kind of liked the sloppiness of it.
I feel like most of it's there's like one or two ones that feel just a little
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
off or like just like but
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep. And I was hoping no one would notice, but you did. So
there's just a little apology there.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Super good.
So good ear, very good ear. Okay, you want to keep hearing me talk, right? So main presentation, the main thing we got going on here, introduction to FMod and basic integration with Unity. So so FMod, what is FMod? FMod is a middleware software. This is from the website. So FMod, you design sounds for your game using the intuitive DAW-like interface with no program necessary. Bullshit. But yeah, so FMod is a middleware, meaning that you oh wait, I have a diagram. So before I go, let's go to this first, and then I'll go back. So this is how it works. So audio tools, meaning like, you know, Reaper or Logic or whatever, you're making the assets outside of the game. And then on the other side there, it says game tools. That's like, you know, models, textures, animations, AI stuff, you know. And then what's in the gray box here is like the ecosystem within the game. So FMod Studio is the it's the interface that, you know, we would see on the surface level, and then the Unity editor is on the kind of the other side, and then that dotted line is representing like kind of switching over to the actual engine, and FMod like core, which is the internal stuff. That's like the language that's talking with Unity and whatnot. So this is just like kind of a diagram of like how it's kind of working, how it works with really any game engine, but Unity is the one we're using because it's the most sort of popular and the one I know the best. So how much does FMod cost? Well, it's free unless you make like a ton of money, and then it's worth it. You know, like FMod is awesome. I love using it because it just gives me so much power to just do lots of things. We'll go like way more into FMod like in other meetings. What were you gonna say?
So, just to make sure I have this
Yeah.
understood, this is an interface that you use within the Unity engine when editing?
Nope, it's outside of it. It is like a different software, but it's called middleware because we like basically insert it into Unity and like streaming assets basically to Unity for then it to be played back in the game engine and communicating with the language that's happening in the game engine.
So you can kind of patch it in.
Yeah, you could think about it as patching it in. It's kind of like exactly like patching actually.
It also doesn't have to be used with Unity. It can be used with any
Yep.
engine that has an integration. For example, Dice Tower is a Godot game, and
Yep.
that uses FMod.
Yep. And then yeah, so it's really awesome.
It's been around a long time.
So like I said, so there's a couple different things here. We've got FMod Studio. So this is all on our website. I just kind of was grabbing things off there. So FMod Studio itself is the main interface for like audio designers. It's going to look and feel like a DAW, but there's a lot of other things in there that you might not know about very well. Then we've got the exclusive API. So like FMod Studio and FMod Engine are like the same, but you can also just use the engine, and that's strictly for programmers, like programmers using that core API. And then we've got like the Unity and Unreal packages. So like you download those, and we're going to go through that. But like this is just kind of the getting started, understanding that what these three different things are. So this is my step-by-step guide for actually. So this is nothing. We haven't even started yet. We know about FMod. We know about Unity. But how do we get them to talk and connect? Well, first, we go to fmod.com/download. It's free. Wait, no, we don't. No, we install Unity first. So we go to Unity and install Unity Hub. I'm using Mac, so this is what I did. And then I'm downloading it there. So then you set up a free account. And then we're going to start a new project. So this is once we've actually installed Unity, made an account. Now we're starting a new project. And then we need to go to the Learning tab. This is basically how I was doing it. So this is kind of like starting a test one, basically. So we need to go to the Learning, and I picked the Essential Pathway, and I think I needed to download it. And then this is important, like extremely important. Always make sure you know what version you're working with, because versions, especially Unity and Fmod, they need to communicate correctly. So version number, it's kind of just something, write it down on a piece of paper, just so you know. And they constantly update, and it's a thing.
If you update your version of Unity, will it mess with?
Yeah.
So you should turn off any automatic updates if there are.
Yeah, I don't think they automatically update. It's kind of one of those things that it's not like our DAWs, even though Pro Tools is notoriously the same. Like I was like 10 versions back on Pro Tools because I was just like, I don't want to. It's stable. When it's stable, it's happy.
Was your music written in Pro Tools?
No, I wrote that in Ableton. So yeah, for this example, 6000-035 F1 is our version. That's just version 6. And then we need to name our project something. I think I just named it test or like Game.wav or something. And then we need to put the directory somewhere. So I'm putting it in my user, my user library, because that's where I have all my game projects and whatnot. And it's just like on my main hard drive on my computer. And then this is like a template. So this learning program, the Essential Pathway is like, it's a tutorial. It's like you open it up and it's going to help you navigate Unity for the first time, basically. But we're not really interested in any of that at all. Actually, we're mostly doing this so we can get models. So like if we want to start throwing sounds in there, we're not just doing it arbitrarily. Like we have, this project comes with a bunch of assets already with it, like buildings and, like fire pits and stuff. So it's really helpful. And so now that we've like opened Unity for the first time, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the scenes folder, which is in assets. So this it kind of looks like your screen, like your hard drive, right? But this is it acts really similarly. So scenes, and then we're going to make a new scene and save as in this as a test. And then to make sure, we look back up at the top, and it will say, test. That's our scene. This is our project, and this is our our system, and then the version, and then metal. That's not. So now, hey, listen. Now we go back to Fmod, and we download a bunch of things. So again, caution. Very, very important that we know what version we're picking on this stuff. So we need two things. We need Fmod Studio 2.03.07. That's the newest one, and it's Unity verified. And then we also need Fmod for Unity 2.03. And again, I'll say it again, these must be the same. And they're, that's Fmod for Unity, that's Fmod Studio. And that's what they should look like when you download them. So 2.03.07. So that's the Unity package and the installer for Mac. So now I can drag the Unity package that I downloaded into my project, and then I want to import that project, because basically what we're doing is we're importing all the stuff that Fmod has in it as like a software. So that we need to actually have Unity communicating with the technology that is in the background of the software that we'll be using on the interface. So now, once you import it, you'll see this Fmod setup guide wizard thing. And now we need to pause again. We need to go back, pause on Unity. We need to go back and install Fmod Studio now, because this is the interface we as sound designers and composers would likely be using the most. So now we're going to go to our downloads, going to drag it in, And those are all the fmod versions I have. But, and I actually, it doesn't tell you the version number, but I make sure to put the version number in it so that when I'm using all 17 different versions I have, I know which one it is. So I've relabeled it. Now we're going to open fmod 2.03, fmod studio, and we're going to make a new project. And so I'm saving this in the same location as my Unity project, just so they're in the same sort of area. And then some people, you know, like I kind of go back and forth on this ideology. Some people like to put the assets in the project, like in the Unity folder, in the assets folder, but that can sometimes be problematic because if their repo isn't very big, it fills up their repo. And when I'm saying repo, I mean when we're using source control, which is like using a cloud or something like that, but it's specifically with you know, game engines and whatnot. So it's like version control. So yeah, Josh.
I would argue the repo size doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is the game export, because the game export shouldn't contain the fmod project. So that's, in my mind, what would be more important.
Yeah.
Not necessarily keeping the repo size down.
Yeah.
To
I
have
mean, there's
a
some big files out there. But
Yeah, we've run into problems with putting too much binary files in repos.
Yeah.
depends on the
Very
project.
difficult to solve
Yeah.
later.
fair enough.
I say this because I was working on a project not that long ago, and I had gigs of files going in there. I mean, you know, like I have high quality, like 96K for 32-bit files, and they're like 2 minutes long or whatever, and it's like ambience. So if you stack that, you know, you start really getting a lot of gigs going in there, and you know, their repo is only a few gigs. So they couldn't really hold that content in there and the project. So what we did is we separated it. We separated the content from the project. So, and that's what I'm kind of saying here is, but
It's a common workflow for artists too.
yeah,
When they have like crazy high
yeah,
resolution raw files or something, that's like, you should still back those up somehow, but they don't
definitely.
necessarily have to be versioned.
And I do that. My way of doing that is I have 3 different redundancies in my own hard drives. So like everything's backed up through, you know, iCloud or Dropbox, and I've got, you know, a 10 terabyte Western Digital, and then like I've got a RAID. So all the files are all backed up. So yeah, that's just that's so yeah, there's some discourse on this, but I think that for our purposes, we're going to separate them outside, just also for visuals. So before we do anything else, now that we've saved, now that we have done, put the project somewhere, we need to do a build. Even if there's no sound, nothing even in an fmod project, because what we're doing is we're building streamable assets, making a meta file basically for Unity to say, oh, okay, I see. This is the file you want me to use when I am actually playing something back, even if there's nothing there. So we need to build, and now we go back to Unity, and we're ready to actually use this setup wizard. And when we're using the setup wizard, it's pretty straightforward, but we want to choose a single platform build, unless there's multiple platforms, you know, if like you're on Switch, Xbox, you know, whatever. But most of the time we're only on one, and that's probably the best way to just test and start anyway, because you could also go off the project. But the problem with using the project often is like if you don't have those files on your computer, and it goes right back to what we were talking about, if that repo doesn't have those assets, it's not going to play them because they are on my machine, not in their cloud, not in their repo. So like we want to stream the assets. That's why we build after every time we work. So then and basically that streamable asset is then revised and reiterated on over and over and over again. So that's the reason why I was kind of saying that it's somewhat important to have some kind of plan with what you're going to do with the asset. It's also not that hard to change if you need to redo it. Now we're going to carefully find the path on our computer. We're going to carefully find the path on our computer where we put the fmod folder. So in my situation, I'm showing it here, and it's so small. I'm sorry. I'll make it bigger. So here, so this is where, so within the fmod folder, there is it's called builds folder, and then within that is a desktop, which is just saying like desktop meaning desktop computer, but that's like the platform, meaning like how we're going to actually, the thing we're building it for, like Mac or Windows. And then we're going to choose this folder as the place to grab the streamable assets from. So now we are going to replace the listener. Now a listener is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically headphones for, in the game. It's the thing that we're using to like find the world that we're in, because we're in a 3D space or even a 2D space. We need a listener to hear or interact with game objects. It's the camera for the sound. I like that. So now that we've started, now this is a first time opening, so we don't have any audio units already in there. But basically, this portion here is if you have already started your project with sounds in it, and we're just like replacing them. Fmod, the wizard, has made it a lot easier than it used to be. I used to have to go through the whole project and find it all myself. So now we have studio components that we can actually use in Fmod or in Unity. So that's pretty much it. Now, but I'm not going to do next time right now. I'm going to actually just show you this stuff. So now that I've told you, that might also not be super, it's maybe still confusing. Confusing for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through this. So I've went to Fmod, Fmod downloads. So this is just their website. So I'm going to the downloads page here, and this is where I'm downloading for Mac, 0.3. I want this one. I want the Unity verified one, and so I would download it. I've already downloaded it. And then we want for engine, or no. Unity Engine and Fmod Studio, they have it bundled together. You just need to use the Studio one. We need Fmod for Unity, and then we grab right here, download that. So I've already set up, my Unity account and whatnot. So I can go to the Unity Hub. And I can do a new project. And like I said, we'd go to this one. I'm just going to call it this. It's in this folder, create project. Allow. So this is a blank project. Well, not blank. It's going to have this tutorial thing in it. But it's going to take a few seconds.
So what is the folder hierarchy for a Unity project? Is it project and then assets and then session, or how does that work?
Yeah, so if we go into my folder here and we open just this Game.wav 2.1. So it's got assets. These are this is where you've got your plugins and settings and essentials and stuff that's part of the project. and then you've got like your library, logs, packages. So it's like, it's all kind of, yeah, that's kind of how it's set up. I don't exactly know.
You'll only do stuff in assets, basically.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the other stuff is just kind of generated.
It's stuff we really don't need to know.
Yeah.
It's a little above our pay grade.
Into the other folders.
Yeah.
Too.
So, yeah, so back to the project. We've got, so I'm going to close this. We don't need that. So now that I've downloaded my packages, I've installed Fmod Studio. Let's open Fmod before we do anything. And this is 3.7. So now we're going to do a new project. And then I'm going to save this. Save it as, I'm just going to call it my project again. Project, wow, didn't spell that right. Oh my God, it's the worst. Fucking terrible at it. So yeah, so my project fmod, and then I'm going to save it in the same directory. I'm going to save it in my, what?
I never make more spelling errors than we're typing errors.
I know.
Yeah.
I think it's frozen. Sorry.
That was just how bad the typing was.
Yeah, it's true. I'm also streaming and running this and running a game engine, so that's why I was gonna, never mind. Okay, let's try this again. New project. Good thing I got a M1 Mac. My proj fmod. Oh, it's still getting, my apologies. We'll just open a project that I already have open. So I would open it for the first time and I would make just a nothing, you know, just there's nothing in here. And then I would go to this file and I would press build. And then it would generate, you know, those files that I was talking about, streaming assets. And now we can go to the back to the Unity project, and then I can drag this package that I downloaded into it. Actually, did it in the wrong way. I got to put it over here. And so now it'll.
So that's what was created when you pressed build?
No, nope. That package is what I downloaded from Fmod's website,
Right.
and that is the thing that is kind of connecting the two. It's connecting the bridge. It's the cable, you know, essentially. I think it didn't work. Yeah. Oh my God, it's really sluggish. So now we're seeing this import. So we're going to import this. It'll take a few seconds, probably longer than that. And then once that wizard shows up, it's ready to kind of communicate with. So now we can start this. And then, you know, recognize this is where this is like updating tasks, and it's verifying, you know, that we can do live updates on our machine. And then we're going to pick single player build. And then this is where, you know, if we were to go in, oh man, I can't even click on stuff. This is where we would go find that assets folder. It's just tanking. My apologies. So then that's pretty much it. It's really not that complicated, but it can be really confusing for the first time because it's like so much going back and forth, and then understanding what a game engine is and like how it's communicating. It was definitely difficult for me the first time, and I had no one showing me how to do it except for really not great at the time documentation online, and you know, no one really knew how to use Fmod when I was doing it, so there was only like 3 or 4 videos on YouTube. So like I kind of had to figure it out myself. So but yeah, it's tanking. I'm sorry. So yeah, any questions, I should say. Any questions? Yeah.
I mean, you kind of did the how. So talk about the why. Like, why
Definitely.
Why bring it in?
That's a good question. And the reason is because I don't know how to program, and but I also want to give the correct assets to Unity to actually communicate with the game engine. Meaning, I have to make events and I have to make like logic for to actually build into the game. So, you can do that with Unity, but Fmod does. It's just got so much more power. I'm not really. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just want to add when you're done.
Yeah, it's got so much power. You can, it has its own sort of, well, it's amazing. It's an amazing software because it can it's its own engine. So it's separated from Unity. So you don't have to worry about it's more optimized for streaming the assets to Unity rather than having Unity work with the audio itself. It's just like separating the paths more, I guess.
For stuff like sound effects, like it probably has things like random, no repeat, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like pitch,
Logic,
yeah,
what's,
random pitch shifts or something to like that
Yep.
kind of thing. Like
yeah.
So like, my understanding is one of the nice things about Fmod is like, if I sent you a build, you can hook Fmod Studio up to it and edit the audio
Mhm.
stuff without having to run Unity
Right.
on your end. You
Absolutely.
don't have to like manage the project or get it.
Yeah. I find it helpful to know how to use a game engine because eventually I would like to be able to add know just enough code to know the audio essentials and know how I can get in stuff. And it just helps sort of psychologically understand what you're doing. You're kind of prepping your brain for okay, now I understand where this is actually going. It's not just a black hole and it just works, So I tend to like to get my hands dirty and go into the game engine and maybe add events myself, add them to game objects and whatnot. In fact, that's what we'll be doing next time, because I was gonna do this time, but then when I was building, I was like, I feel like just integrating it is enough to really kind of talk about. So yeah, and so using game objects and placing them in Unity and using studio event emitters and yeah, what's up?
what about music side? Like, is there any benefit to
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of, you know what? Let's just, I'll just show you. I'm not so good at talking. So this is a project I made called Alley Oop. It's a dog on a skateboard. So when we go in this music folder, here's all the different songs. Let's go to cul-de-sac. So you're seeing things looks like a DAW almost. We've got plugins on the bottom here. We've got tracks, but we're not really seeing any tracks. This is way above the level that we should be talking about right now, but I have a bunch of nested folders within this so that when I click on this, it's actually showing me where the audio is. I do this so that I have more control. And I'm basically separating mixers. There's several different mixers here. So instead of using the timeline, I'm using these nested projects to this is for underwater. So that's just for underwater for this, but this is part of a bigger sort of project. So when I've got this free roam stuff going, I can do these different special events, like NBC music, and mini games, and then go back to no special event meaning the old thing. And then I can still do underwater. Oh, that's not, sorry. I can still do underwater here. Go back, you know, and I just have more control. This is more, it's easier to see it and visualize what I'm doing. And like the way that this worked is, so like the level starts with the intro, and then there's some logic here to automatically switch it to the tutorial music, which then you only use the tutorial until, you know, you leave, and there's a trigger for leaving. And then in Unity, yep, these up here, these are called parameters. These parameters are, so now we switched into this tutorial section, and then automatically did it because I used a special, basically like programmer type transition type thing. This is a programmer instrument right here. This is a command instrument, call it. So I can set like a thing on a timeline, and it will automatically do something that like a programmer could automatically change. Now this will just loop until I actually go, hey, transition. So on transition in real time, it'll then go, then it will go into the free roam music. And then it will just do that. Now it just loops. Now we never go back to those things. So it's like kind of a linear path, but there's stops. And then, you know, now we can go to our NPC or, you know, our mini game. Nope, that's the saloon. And then be able to go back and forth and have interactions between these songs that that change in real time. So this would be a lot of work to do in Unity. Yeah.
Yep, and that's where I was going, because if FMOD wasn't providing this, then the engineers on the team have to build all of that functionality.
It's just so much work for.
Yeah, I looked into doing it. It's a ton of
Yeah.
work. That's time not spent building the game.
And this is something I can build for Josh. You know, this is something I can build, like my own sort of language, my own sort of software, or whatever you call it. Because all these songs, they have the same methodology. You know, there's an intro, not a tutorial because there's no more tutorials after that level. But then we've got a bunch of other songs that then can be switched with parameters. So like really it's just like figuring out the trigger then. Yeah. And like, you know, for Alex, the developer on this game, it was like, okay, well, when we go into a cave, you know, that's when I want cave music. When we leave the cave, go back to free roam music. So that's the kind of thing that happens here. So that's why it's really powerful. And thank you for telling me to give context, because I don't know why I didn't.
So if you wanted like some of the games that play with a lot more with like dynamic like tracks coming in and out,
Yep.
layered, and like
Yep.
it seems like you could do all that in there.
Yeah. This is probably, yeah.
Then, I guess doing this once, I guess how does it stay in Unity if you do this on your computer and then someone else is working on the game on a different computer? How does it stay in Unity?
Yeah.
Does it like then does FMOD convert its events into like Unity's language and then put it
What
in?
FMOD for Unity would be doing is the translation layer.
Yes. That's what that download was. That package that we installed, that's like the engine working within, behind the scenes. It's like doing all that stuff behind the scenes.
So then would the engineers, if they're working on the project on a different computer, have to have FMOD for Unity downloaded on their end as well?
Yes. Yes.
That part would be part of the project.
But
But not necessarily this.
But what I did, but like what me and Josh did, you know, I downloaded this stuff on my computer, and then I pushed to the repo this information. So then it's just in the repo. And I keep saying repo as it's basically the project, living project in a cloud. So like everything that everybody works on, you know, we've got artists, we've got engineers, we've got composers, and like all that stuff needs to come together on one project, right? So we need a place that can kind of push and pull the new changes, and then be able to revert to old things, so that we can actually if something goes wrong, you know, we have a backup. So that's version control. Yeah. And so like it's called like GitHub is what, you know, like this is for Dice Tower. So like history, like this is what we were doing with the Fmod integration. So you'll see all this shit, all this metadata and actual data. And this is the stuff that I have pushed to the repo. And now if I fetch, I'll pull things from what Josh worked on so that then they get merged together. And source control is a whole other thing I should probably do a talk on that just itself. Or I should have someone that actually knows how to do it, you know, tell. Yeah, me just flailing in the wind.
That might be a thing to have like a round table, actually.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone's going to have like a different experience that might be useful.
Source control is a big deal. It's a big deal. It's like the number one thing that causes a lot of issues, but also solves a lot of issues because it can, you know, it's also one of the hardest things that, you know, for a composer, sound designer person, it was a hard thing to wrap my brain around at first, to like understand, okay, so I'm not just saving it, but I also have to push it and pull it, and it's a push and pull relationship.
I think also because you tend to be more indie, it's like you kind of have to wear a lot of hats. For like a
Yeah.
big studio, it's like a composer might not ever touch it.
Yeah, they might just make assets.
Files, like,
Yeah.
you know, and then somebody else is going to handle
And, you know, like I also just like am interested in all of it. So like I want to actually be the one to put it in the game, because then it also just expands my skill set, and I have more contextual knowledge of what's happening in the game, which makes me a better designer ultimately. Because the whole reason I'm doing any of this is to enhance the player experience. That is like all of it. And if I can understand how the player gets that control in their hand and how they interact with that game, then I can actually manipulate that and help them get through the game or understand the world better. So like the real, I think we're going to start seeing jobs shifting more into this hybrid thing, because tools like Fmod aren't that hard to learn. They are complicated, but with years of experience, you know, like you'll get better at it, especially in the indie realm. Like Trent was saying, you know, you have to wear a lot of hats. So that's why I'm composing, I'm doing sound design, and I'm also, you know, actually making the logic and having the fundamental understandings of where the things go, and just basic terminology like game objects and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not so good at that stuff, but I'm getting there. But basically what I'm doing here is doing exactly what a programmer would do, you know, just with like visual. It's, instead of it being coding, I'm using a visual editor, which is Unity. Unity is a visual editor. It's manipulating the code. You have to write scripts and stuff for it, but there's a lot you can do on surface level. And so like all this stuff up here it's all logic. It's all, you know, this is a start, and then it's going to go somewhere, you know, based on, because this is a loop, and this is the tutorial, you know, for the game. So I wanted to make sure that this particular thing, I want the music to adapt with the player. It's like a cohesive sort of ideology thing, where it's like, I am learning the song as I am learning how to play. So it's like you're kind of combining the two like totally separate experiences of playing a game and listening to it, but you're merging them together. So then now that's why, you know, like I specifically designed the song that way, and then I also knew that this is how I would have it work in the game engine. So then it's just like talking to the developer, hey, I want the music to change after this dialogue. I want the music to then change after this, you know, tutorial thing. And then we get to, you know, like a more developed song. So now we like feel like we're part of the game. And yeah, so, but I could go into like that kind of stuff too in different ways.
sound effects on this project too then? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, so this game is finished. This game is finished. The soundtrack is not finished, but the game is finished. This one's kind of interesting. This is a bell, but so in the game, you hit these bells with this big mallet or whatever. It's a physics puzzle, and so every one you hit, it changes the the tone of it. And I think I don't remember. I think I just did 1 octave. And so it'll change. Yeah, that's like one thing. It changes based on the order I think you hit them or something like that. And it goes up and then it starts over again. Yeah, the big spoon, lamps falling. I'm trying to think of like interesting things. Oh, you know what's probably interesting in this land is Ollie's skateboarding stuff. Yeah. So we've got a lot of different terrains. Pavement, grass, wood, dirt, tiles, or ceramic, sand, goo, mystical goo, mystical glitch, something, and then metal. And we can kind of just change to any of those and at any time we want. And then also, we've got this pitch on here so that when you're going up a hill, it's making it longer. You go down a hill, it's going faster. So it's a small change that makes a big difference.
There's an interesting kind of one-layer tutorials or like demo sessions I think that FMOD has, where it's like a lawnmower, and it shows like a bunch of layers, and then the control aspect of it and how it's manipulated. So like you have basic pitch one going up, and it's
Yep.
kind of I think a good demonstration of how
Yeah.
the effect part of it can work.
Yep. So yeah, that's like this, but this also works with the board jumping or no, this one. This is pushing off the ground. So I separated them so that like Ollie can go, but I want it to be attached to his foot. So when he actually puts his foot on the ground, we get a pavement movement type thing. But there also is one built in to the very first of these. And I think, how do I do that? I think I just have Alex, using that. And then grinding is pretty interesting. So we've got grinding and landing. I don't think Alex used the landing, but it doesn't matter. So we've got the grinding. So we got that first hitting the bar. So that's this. And then we are grinding. It's going to loop. But as we go, like further, like it's not going to be that abrupt, but it's going to. And then, it's going to go back down. But like I could also grind and then I could land. But Alex didn't use the landing. Hang time is also interesting because I knew that, I couldn't tell you how long Ollie would be in the air. I wouldn't be able to know that. It could be forever. It could be a moment. It could be. So I had to build this sound that'll adapt to the specifications of how the player is playing. And so this just goes, and while it loops, it starts to go up in pitch. Should be. I might have turned that off. But this has like an in and out actually. So like when I start it, it goes, and then when you end, you change the value here, and then it'll actually end. So like it's like a start and a finish, but it's all built in one. Me and Scott actually do this a lot in Viridian Expanse, only we're doing it in a totally different way. But similarly, like we're picking an area to loop, and then we're picking an area to end. Yeah. User feedback.
I've actually been meaning to ask you so how does fmod do it?
Yeah.
And duplicate that workflow for you or something.
Yeah, and that's basically how it does it. Hats. These are like things that get added to Ollie.
Do you have any examples of something simple that you do a lot that you have kind of variety or
You hear that one a lot. Let's see. Let me see here. Oh, yes.
Or you might play a random sound from a list or change the
This one.
Oh, I see. Is that just changing the
Yeah. So.
how does that work? Oh, okay.
So this is when Ollie hits a wall. And then when he hits it harder. So it's just like, I kind of developed a little system of okay, squeezes, like real hard squeezes are hard impacts and little squeaks are, and so these are just different files, different takes. But I could also add logic to this to make it go even further. I could add modulation to this, and I could randomize it. But the problem with that, in fmod, the pitch shifting is done by actually changing the time. So it'll make the sample longer or shorter based on if you want it to pitch up or down, basically like sampling on like a MPC or something like that. There are plugins in fmod where you can pitch shift based on just changing the pitch without changing like a destructive sort of thing, but it sounds like ass. So, yeah.
There is no correct, perfect way to just change the pitch of things.
Well, you can do it with, the way I'd probably do it now is I would bake a bunch of assets that have better sounding, I would bake normal, I would bake 2 octaves up, I'd bake 2 octaves down, and then you would just fade between them, basically.
Well, I guess what I mean is from a signal processing perspective, when you have things that can slow down something without changing the pitches and stuff like that, there's so many knobs and stuff you can tweak on how those algorithms work, because there's no mathematically correct way to just stretch out the time or change the pitch without changing the time.
Well, what's funny though is that engineers always want to manipulate what you're talking about, but you can do so much more with just asset fading and fading out and crossfading, because the asset's already there, it's baked, it's not going anywhere, and then you can just as long as I know what the highest and the lowest or the list variation sizes, I can always bake better quality assets. Exactly, yeah. Because I have tools that will change the pitch, really well in a DAW, because the DAW, is using special technology to actually change the pitch and, resample it and do all sorts of stuff, like using something like auto-tune or something like that, where you're tweaking a bunch of different inputs to change the way it interacts with it, and then I can bake that all together even. And so there's just a lot I can do with assets, on a a building level in a DAW. But there's also a lot of cool stuff though that you can do, like I'm saying, with pitch. This pitch kind of thing. This, I think, as long as it doesn't, in my opinion, as long as it doesn't destroy the asset or add artifacts, add a bunch of stuff that's not supposed to be there, then it's fine. It sounds like it's supposed to be there. But if we start hearing like digital clipping and all this crap, it's like, okay, we need a better solution. We need more fidelity, because when you're pulling and pulling on an asset, a sound file, you're just going to start hearing digital noise really quickly, honestly, especially if it's a lower sample size, because, like digital audio, if it's recorded at 444.1 at 16 bit, that's just not as much you can use if you had recorded at like 96K at 24 bit. Like there's just more dynamic range, not dynamics in terms of like louder or softer, but dynamic range in terms of like asset health, like the health of how much it can actually expand, It's just got more room, to pull. So yeah.
So FMOD is multi-platform.
Yes.
And do you know how accessible FMOD is for blind audio developers?
I don't. But
Where I could find information about that.
Well, you could always email them, and they're pretty responsive. Like it's a small company, so.
I suppose you could use voice. You're on a Mac, right?
Yep.
So you use VoiceOver here, and then I guess there's any number like NVDA or JAWS on Windows, for
Sure.
example, or Orca on Linux. Or, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't really think about those things a ton when I'm on the development side, but I would think about them more on the final product side, where like making sure certain things. I mean, not sound. Sound does not translate to eyes, but well, it does. But yeah, I don't know. I wish I did have a better answer for you. I should do some looking into that.
Just wondering. Figured I'd ask.
Yeah, of course.
Looking at the FMOD forum, it looks like in like March, I'm just
Yeah.
not reading too far into it, but in March 2020 there was someone who's visually impaired and reached out to the programmers.
Yeah, the developers. Yeah.
The developers about making it more accessible, and looks like they had a back and forth about what would be helpful.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're definitely really responsive and taking in feedback and also implementing things.
I mean,
They've got 5 years since that comment.
Yeah.
Perfect now. No, I got it.
FMOD and middleware in general is actually kind of in its infancy. It's like it's pretty new. It's like been around for,
Been around for
20 years.
we used it like
But what I'm saying is that like there's not a ton of it hasn't. Yeah, it's been around for a long time.
but it's probably been redone many
Yeah,
times.
I mean this is only on 2.
Is FMOD newer than Wise?
I don't know. I know that like Wise. I've only used Wise a few times, and Wise is like a totally different interface. It's not as visually pleasing.
No.
It's more like
I prefer FMOD way more.
yeah.
So you're not a wise guy, you're saying?
I'm not a Wise guy. I'm a FMOD guy.
A FMOD guy.
Any other questions before I close this, or wanting to see things? Nope. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we can wrap it up and go to the freaking bar.
Before our thunderstorm is zero again.
What?
Before the thunderstorm warning.
Yeah.
There's a giant sale coming our way.
Oh, great.
Tuesday, every Tuesday.
There was like a tornado warning. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it.
Well, if we don't want to go to the bar because we're scared of that, like we can all separate. But
We live in the Midwest.
that's true.
So
All right, stream. I'm gonna end you now. Thank you for viewing.
beverage, I will brave the storm.
Oh shit, Adam. Good to see from you, buddy.